Today is Tuesday, it is February 23rd, and we're here for our regular monthly meeting. We're going to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nancy, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Kathy?
Here.
Mr. Pollock?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Paul? Here. Mr. Keith?
Here. All right, we'll open with our agenda on the citizen comments. Are there those that have any comments this morning for us? Floor is open. Yes, sir. Ma'am, what you got?
Is anybody going to mention the post office anywhere else in the meeting?
I don't have anything, so maybe.
I don't even have anything new, been talking to Marty, but.
Okay, so then let me ask the question. Is the city still offering the fire department as the location, and have you considered offering the old police station location?
Yeah, the last week, spoke with Marty, we told him that the building was available. I asked him for a floor plan and for him to give consideration to how much of the building he thought he would need. And recommended that he try to find financing to fix it up through whatever means he had. I have not heard a word since the time I asked him that. I have not seen it, nor has he called.
Okay. And has the city considered offering right next door where the old police station was? Has that been a consideration?
I have.
And-
Now, well, of course, I've not been able to talk to other people
Right.
about it, but I have. But the problem you're gonna have in talking to Marty, first of all, they can't do a GoFundMe.
Yes,
The post office won't let it.
yes.
We can lease the land to him, but he can't get a loan on lease land. So he's kind of stuck in this situation right now. Even repairing if he could, I really don't think the fire station is usable because of the amount of destruction that was done on it, and what it had to take to repair it, you have to go back to new codes. It's a tough situation right now for him.
Okay. So is there anything else that the city thinks it can do to help the situation? Or is that something that y'all will need to be discussing?
I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know what else we can do.
Okay, that answers the question. Thank you.
All right.
Being that the post office is a next door neighbor of mine, with the stores we have, there is a simple solution to all of this. If people would put down their egos or whatever their hurt feelings are and renegotiate. Most business people know how to do that. Nobody wants that post office to leave, especially me. And a lot of other people. It's just a simple fact of trying to get two factions together and trying to work out their differences, which I do believe can be done if people would be willing to, like I said, sit down and put their differences aside and try to work towards a solution. It's right there. It's the least expensive, it's the easiest, it's the way to go, it's not as far as I see it, but I'm not Marty.
Okay. Yes, sir, Rob.
Rob Priest, 422 Colorado. Morning, Mayor, Council. Three quick things. Boat Ramp Road. Has anything came back on that with the apartments with the road right on the other side of the bridge, or is it still gonna be the same road used? You know, that's been brought up over and over, we're still waiting to get an answer back to that.
I can't, Mario, have you heard anything?
Yes, sir.
On the, what they call the, auxiliary road that they were gonna explore with DOT?
I had not heard anything different than what they submitted for plans.
All right, so no, we don't know anymore.
Okay, I think it was last meeting, Kathy mentioned, finances, boat ramp collection fees. I think you got $2,000 something. I mean, that's piddly drop in the bucket. You know how my feelings are about the ramp. I live here, and I think you should be charging people to use it, even the people who live here. But that little bit of money, isn't that supposed to go right to the boat ramp?
Yeah, it goes into, that's right, goes into maintenance of the facility.
Okay, is there a way to get some like, bumpers put along the boat ramp? Old carpeting, old fire hose, something nailed to the sides, instead of just having wood with nails in it sitting there? I mean, that's kind of the money to use for something like that. Pretty simple maintenance to keep people from tearing their boats to shreds every time they try to launch.
Mayor, I've been approached by somebody in regards to, excuse me, fire hose, and I said, once we finished our hose testing and so on and so forth, whatever was no longer usable for the fire department, we could at least see if that would help out. We haven't finished that process yet, so I don't know how much we may or may not have yet, but that is a possibility when you mentioned fire hose, so that could happen with our old out-of-service fire hose.
Mayor, I need to check the drawings. Again, that project is underway right now, rebuilding the
It had
docks.
bumpers,
And if it had a bumper before, it'll have a bumper again once that project
it
is.
had a wooden bumper, and the traffic over there here after the storm made a mess out of a lot of what we had.
Yeah.
Even if it was still good, it ended up not being, but that is part of the marina, project, I hope.
Okay. Last one, I don't know if you even wanna touch it, ordinance 718. Next month is 2.5 years since the hurricane. Have you thought about going back to the original 709 ordinance, which basically says, once your house is under construction, you can come in for 6 months to stay in an RV? It's been 2.5 months. If you're not living in an RV on your property now, that's because you don't live here. And we just sold, I mean, every lot that I drive around the neighborhood that goes up for sale is selling. This place is running out of empty lots. And the way you got that ordinance written, there's no stopping. It's just gonna keep on going forever. 2.5 years is long enough. Something's gotta be cleaned up. And I know I talked to you before about, oh, look out my window, I see blue tarps on houses. Windows still covered up with plastic bags. Isn't there a time limit for somebody to fix their stuff up? And you know, the people who live here have been doing a great job fixing their stuff up. And everybody knows walking around here, and I'll say it again, by 80% of everything around here needs to be cleaned up. The people that don't live here, because it's out of sight, out of mind. And it's getting old, 2.5 years.
Right.
Something needs to be done. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay,
Can I,
yeah, sure. You got a comment?
Rock, you got any ideas of how we make these people clean up?
You have all kinds of ordinances. I look at your ordinance, you have stuff called nuisance. Your property's a nuisance, it's overgrown, it's this or that. There's all kinds of stuff in there. But I mean, you know, you go around, you're in a business here, you're all over Mexico Beach, you see it, it's just, come on. If you can't afford to clean it up, sell it.
Okay,
A lot of this has been working on, Rock, filing, complaints to the citizens doing it. And, we're working on it as hard as we can. It's hard to do something that we've never had to really do before, even at that. I agree 2 years is long enough.
I mean, it's hard to realize that next month is 2.5 years away. It's just, time is going.
And like you said, most of the people that not live here, that out of sight, out of mind. And they getting citations now in what they're doing, so.
Has anybody been fined any money? Has any money been collected for these people who aren't doing stuff?
Well, I think some have been fined.
There've been fines, I don't know that there's a collection yet, so.
Yeah, we've received money. I got a $250
check last week, and another $100 one, yesterday. They're slowly paying attention, I guess.
Can I also say something about, the comment on the, post office? When did we decide that we were gonna let the post office use the building? Isn't that something that the council would have decided?
Well, we talked about
Said
it.
that last minute?
We were gonna explore, what was said in the last meeting was, let's look at it, see what we think about it, and that was the last I heard about it. We didn't say, I never said that I was in favor of doing it. Once I looked at it, you know, cause the thing was, is we were supposed to go look at it, and you asked me if I knew any contractors, I said,
Yeah.
no. And so, when I went and looked at it, I thought, I got thinking about all the other stuff that's involved with it, so all I'm saying is, I didn't know we had made a decision as the city that.
What we said, if I recall, in the minutes, and I'm doing it from memory, that was there any opposition to looking, to trying to see if we could give the building, or help the post office use our building, and there was none, so.
But that was to look at it. I didn't know that we had already made a decision that that was okay for them to do it. Does anybody else remember that we made a decision that they could do it?
There
Or was it
just
just
wasn't
me?
any opposition like Al said.
But what I'm saying is, we didn't agree to, I mean, it
Was
seems
there
like we
any
should-
opposition now? If they wanna fix it up, I guess maybe we can.
Well, I mean, I don't know, Nick, what kind of liability situation, I mean, what kind of situation we get in, Renton? And Mario, what kind of, I mean, it was a condemned building, are we gonna get into any kind of situation because we had condemned it, and now we're gonna use it? I mean, those are the issues that I thought we should have.
If we leased it as is, and they follow building code and all the requirements, that would be the cleanest way.
We would set up the contract so the city wouldn't have liability, but ultimately, it just doesn't sound like it's gonna work for them. I mean, I think that's what the mayor's efforts were, was to explore how interested they'd even be in it. Sounds like they have a lot of difficulties on their side to accomplish that approach.
Well, I heard on the street that we were gonna lease it to them for a year for $10.
Well, that was the
I
way,
think
that-
what
to
we're
get
talking
away,
about-
that was the ultimate decision, when after Mario researched with FEMA and I researched with FEMA, that there was no issue with the using the building, then I never dreamed that we would want to invest taxpayer dollar in fixing that building up for the post office. So we said, the cleanest way is, look, Marty, we do it for $10 a year, then you fix it up, and that's just a clean deal, and I hadn't heard any more about it, so
And the other practical reality is if the
I was gonna
city-
wait till he came back and said, here's what,
if the city were gonna rehab that building, even if it started right away, when this initial concept was kicked around, the way the city contracts, I don't know, the timeline could have been met. That was probably the other reason for asking the tenant if they wanted to do it, because they would have more flexibility with their processes and their contracting and a better opportunity to complete it.
Okay.
Well, it's my understanding that the building was over 50% being able to repair. Okay, if that's true, and even if we leased it to Marty, he would have to bring it up to the new codes. Okay, and bringing up new codes, it's below the street level, so he's gonna have a problem. I think Marty's already started realizing all this. Now, I don't know where, first off, I don't know where you get the money to do it, because it'd be leased property. It would not be, something you get a loan on. He can't do a GoFundMe. So he's kinda stuck. Now, I'm kinda like what Mark said, I think they need to work together
Well-
back in that building.
I agree, and I talked to Harry afterwards, and I asked Harry, I said, well, Harry, what are you charging them? And he told me, he's charging them $750 a month. And Marty sat in here and said, oh, well, I could pay up to $1,000, well, he's way below $1,000 right now, in a space that's big enough for him to do what he's doing. And I'm like, Mark, I don't understand what the deal is, why, especially if the city's gonna get into any kind of, whether it's just a little bit renting a spot to a business for $10 a year. And I want if the post office talks to Harry, I mean, I don't understand why he can't stay where he's at. He hadn't been run out.
Well, but going back on the lease, it's not just a business. It's the reason we would do it. It is the post office.
Well, it's not like the federal post office.
We just couldn't lease it with any business.
Yeah.
It's a subcontract.
Yeah, he's not like the post office.
I know.
So,
It's a service to the city.
sure, I understand that.
Any conversations or negotiations that may have been occurring, I wasn't in them, but it would have to ultimately end with this council approving the lease terms. Our charter even requires us to have an ordinance to approve a real lease, so nothing formal happened.
Okay. Okay. Does that help you?
Okay,
Thank you.
any other, I think we already did that. All right, we're going to, department reports. Mario, financial, do you have, is there anything to report?
I gave you, each one of you this. Debbie has a doctor's appointment today, so she couldn't be here at the meeting. And it just goes through the funds that the city has. This report is verified through December 31st. Not a whole lot has changed since that time frame. So again, good information. And somebody mentioned the boat launch fund. The boat launch fund actually has $119,000 in that fund. And keeping in mind that we're looking to upgrade that boat ramp, we've submitted through the Corps of Engineers and DEP to expand the boat ramp to double the number of ramps that we have. So that is underway. So having some money is helpful for that. And then later on in the meeting, we will be talking about the pier, and the pier fund has $300,000. So again, two places of interest within this report.
Okay.
And I would like to also point out that the negatives that you see here, those will go to positives as we start to transfer the funds that are coming in from FEMA into the proper fund categories, because again, we pretty much rebuilt the water treatment plant, and these funds came out of our operating funds as opposed to being transferred into the proper funds. So some of this is still county work that has to take place.
And that's the water and the sewer money?
Yes,
That's the two.
Yeah, those two, y'all know how much work happened in both of those funds after the hurricane, so.
Okay, questions or further comments on financial takeaway? All right, Sandy, you have anything?
I had a phone call from a concerned citizen in regards to life rings in the canal and boat launch area. I got together with Mario and we thought that maybe 6 life rings spread between that area from the boat ramp all the way to the end of the canal for fishermen and or boat users would be a good idea. And we are in the process of purchasing those and having those put in place. I was then approached by a member of the council, Mario, in regards to the streetlights in the city, which just needed some attention after dark to see which ones were and which ones weren't working. The fire department went out and had a look around the city. We came up with 10 that basically weren't working. We forwarded that information to Gulf, to Duke Energy. Duke Energy have to date repaired 2 of those, and the rest are basically all have job or work orders to be done. And I would assume they'll be done before we're here again next meeting. We'll just double check. When they say they're all done, we'll do another quick drive around. Bay County Sheriff's Office have also said that they will, once everything is up and running again, they'll keep an eye out for anything going. We will now keep that system going, that we shouldn't have any lights out for any significant amount of time within the city. Now that we've had EMS with us, or Bay County Emergency Services with us for a month and a half. I thought it'd be interesting to just go through our response times, their response times, ambulance-wise, and so on and so forth. Because we did say that it was going to be a good thing for the city. It does seem that way. Basically, from alarm time to ourselves and Bay County EMS being on scene at the address is basically an average of just over 5 minutes. The average time for an ambulance to arrive is 20 minutes. But should you need ALS care, that care will start literally the moment they've arrived, so 5 minutes after the alarm has been raised. And then there is no time, the transfer time from care here in the city to the ambulance is the length of time it takes to get that patient from the house into the ambulance, and then that ambulance leaves. There's no more road time where they're sitting in the ambulance waiting for them to administer drugs and so on and so forth. So the overall outcome for the patient is better, as we thought it would be, by a reasonable amount. So that has been a positive thing. We did say it would be, but it's nice to be able to crunch the numbers and find out that the time difference is what we thought it would be. So other than that, I have nothing else, unless you have some questions.
Questions or comments for Bob?
Hey, Chief, quick question. You talked about the streetlights. I think it was, maybe it was Tommy, I sent an email months ago, and Duke was supposed to come out and look at all the streets. My street had 3 lights on it before the hurricane. I got 1 now, and they were supposed to come back and look at that. And there's a lot of places like, I mean, I live just down the block where Mark's stores are, and you can't even see at night. It's pitch black. And they were gonna look and put the lights back the way they were supposed to have been. So we ain't talking about burn out, they just never replaced them when they put new poles up. I think, Tommy, you were looking into that?
Yeah, I got a hold of Duke Energy, and they're in a process right now of looking back pre-storm to find out where all the street lights were, and then they're going to make sure those lights that were here before the storm are all put back. Mario had talked with me a couple of weeks ago about making sure, and I got a hold of the engineer for Duke, and they're doing that now. I will follow up on that, and Rocky had asked me about that to make sure that if there was lights there before the storm, that those lights are put back. So, we are working on that now, Rob.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's a slightly different into what Bay County Sheriff's Office ourselves are
Yeah.
trying to do is, we're trying to keep the lights that are up there going, and we don't report them. When someone doesn't physically report them to Duke Energy, then they don't get fixed. So it's really, there's kind of 2 different things going on at the same time to try and basically lighten up our darkness, so to speak. And we're slowly but surely getting there.
Burning or not,
Okay.
because they ain't got a meter on those lights, you're just paying for lights individually around town. So if they're not burning, you're still paying.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
He's standing up.
He's ready. Get at it.
Get it? All right, I give you a little sheet up there and everything. For January, because I was out a little bit under the weather the other day. So, call for service, that's official call for service, called into the sheriff's office and everything, 152. But that daytime phone and that nighttime phone rings 24 hours a day right here, so you probably will get double that. But they never call sheriff's office. 62 traffic stops, 9,428 miles patrolled, 58 citations, 45 of those warnings, and 3 arrests. No traffic accidents that was reportable in January, so we're doing a little bit better.
That's a lot of miles for a little 3 mile.
That's some of that's back and forth to the house and everything, but it all averages in and stuff like that, so.
All right, thank you, Marty. Is there a question for our police department? Sheriff's department?
Yeah, I think a long time ago, one of the meetings mentioned something about, is there a way to get a sign on 98, the speed limit drops to 35, and the dedicated beaches, like you have coming in, flashing signs, speed limit 35?
We actually, over the last year, we purchased 2 traffic signs and everything, and as we get close to spring break, we're actually gonna put those out there and everything, and, flashing, pedestrian traffic and stuff like that, and have them out there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marty.
So,
All right, Jim?
building permits since last meeting, we've permitted 7 new homes, and a dozen or so solar panels and poles and accessory structures. That's about it.
Mayor, I'd like to congratulate Gina. She went out and got certified as a floodplain manager, so we have that service here in-house.
Oh, good.
Thanks, Maria.
I take it that wasn't to be announced publicly.
I wasn't expecting that.
Oh, that's good. That's one more thing you can complain about. All right, 7 new homes. That's good. We're, our little town, I think, is, rising up a little bit. Looks good.
Do we know how many up to date since the hurricane?
It's pushing 170, somewhere in
New
there.
homes.
New homes, yeah.
And a whole lot of repair.
Whole lot.
Any questions? Thank you, Jim. All right, where are we? Kathy?
Okay, to help you out, I've had about 20 RVs that have been removed from the lots. I get tons of phone calls where people say, I've just purchased a lot, can I bring an RV? I'm not letting any RVs come in unless they have an active building permit. I don't think it's necessary for them just to have it down here. I've sent out numerous citations. We've got some people that are up to about $500 that they owe because they just don't want to remove their RV. So they are being cited, and we have gotten $100, but we might want to look at doing something different before, if they've got these citations that they can't get a building permit unless they cure all their citations. We might want to do that, I don't know. We had about 19 demos that were done this year. Violations are still being sent weekly to different people that are still, their homes are just not the blue parks, things like that. Everybody's citations go almost on a weekly basis out to them. And then again, that's another money that can just keep adding up if they don't want to change their house. The one up here, I know that on 98, she called and she said that they came with an engineer and they're seeing about remodeling that house. It's been set for almost, 2.5 years, I don't. But I'm not an engineer, so I can't say. But I just told them they need to clean this up and we can't have any more talks out here. We've so far to date, we've issued about 57 boat launch permits. So it looks like we're gonna have some good activity over at the boat launch this year. I'm just helping out with the city, we're short-staffed, so, we'll do mail runs and bank runs and covering the front, and we just help out where we can. Just to keep the city going here.
Okay.
Kathy,
Huh?
you said about the permits for the RVs. Now, you talk about where there were houses, or like there's several that are here where there were not houses that were never allowed, but they were wooden lots. And that's never been allowed, but yet we have them.
Some of this stuff was before me, Rock. I'm trying to get after these people that are having them down there, and probably the ones you're thinking about are up to like the $500 mark now.
Yeah, what I'm talking about is the new ones, like you said, people are asking to bring them in, and you're saying you can't do it till a permit. Is that for lots that had houses on them, or ones that were wooden? Because that was never allowed to start with. But see, that's something, that's why I brought this up at the beginning of the meeting, because there's a whole bunch of them two ordinances that overlap each other. And it was never allowed to come in here and buy a lot, tear it down, and bring in the RV. You could only do that once your house was actually under construction, and that was for 6 months only. The new ordinance was after the hurricane, and let people come in when their house was destroyed and bring an RV in to live in, which everybody said that's great because you lived here, that you should do that. But that's what I'm saying. All these lots are being sold, and I can see this happening over and over again. And it's never gonna stop.
Personally, I don't think they should be able to bring an RV in, period. If they just bought the land after the hurricane, and they got a good deal, I don't see why they should have it. Because it's not their primary home anyhow.
Well, let me ask you, this list, this is not
That's demolition.
Yeah, on an RV that you say you cited them,
Yes, sir.
are you sort of falling in behind rock? Have we cited them for what?
Because they haven't complied, they haven't come in and done building permit. Their lots are just, they're just,
Okay,
Keeping
they're
their
just,
RV there.
they're just living out of an RV.
well, some of them are living there. I've never seen people over at this one RV, but he continues just to keep his RV at this lot. And they're
Like
always-
storing it then?
Yes, sir. Well, they come down for the weekends.
Well, let me ask you, in those situations, do they have a water meter?
Probably do.
Well, why are we allowing them to have water? They're illegally there. Why are we allowing them to have sewer? They're illegally there. So after you notice them, like once or twice, I'd just say, you know, your water's come down next time, they don't have any water and sewer. I mean, why would we do that?
Can we do that, Nick?
I don't know if we can do it, but
I will look, there are some protections about turning off water, but I don't think they'll apply to that scenario. We probably can do that. Yeah, we could probably do that,
Okay, but can you let Kathy know that?
absolutely.
And then, is that something that you give to Jim, or is that something that would be something you would do then, right?
Give it to Ken and tell them to turn off the water.
Is that what we gotta do, Mario?
Yeah, again, we'll verify that we're able to do that.
Yeah, what it'll lead to is folks that really wanna continue what they're doing, they'll request some sort of a hearing prior to shutting off, but at least it'll make progress.
So if they request a hearing, then we'll give them a hearing. If they don't, we're gonna cut it off.
Give them
I think
a
so.
And what about sewer? How do we?
Well, they don't have water, they can't.
but
use
yeah,
sewer, so-
water has, without the water, they can't do the sewer.
Yeah.
You can't really cut it sewage.
And I'm assuming, Kathy, these are, what I'm speaking of, where you got no response from them? Have you heard from them? Have they said anything to you?
The one did, well, yes, they both have responded. I told them what they needed to do. They need to email their plans into the building department and get an active building permit. And to date, they haven't done it. And this one gentleman, he just sent me another email yesterday saying that, he's still working with his engineer to get plans.
Was there a house there that was destroyed?
On the one lot there was, the other lot I don't know. I mean, I don't see a
I just
structure or
think
anything
we're being
there.
too kind to them. I mean, at some point, we talked about this months ago, they could say that we're in engineering, we're in this, we're in that, that could just last forever.
But she's not letting them put a camper. He called me and said, you know, why, this is too stringent, this is wrong. I had a lot here, I had a house here. I need to put a camper on my place so that I can work through the engineering. I'd be down here to work. And I said, we can't allow you to do something that we're not allowing anybody else. I said, there's a protocol that you gotta follow, and I said, that protocol dictates that you gotta have a building plan and a start time. And so if you got a building plan and it's submitted to the building department, then I'm assuming they have to wait till it gets started before they put the camper, or can they put the camper on it then? I don't know.
I'm saying it has to be an active building permit. I don't know if I'm out of line on that or not.
Well, they could, if this fella gets his building permit and it's approved by you, it goes through your office, then he's ready to start.
Right, yeah,
So it's like Rock's-
once he gets his building permit, he can go ahead and start.
Okay, but like Rock's saying, if he doesn't start, then, you know, cause I remember back before, like Rock was saying, until they actually started, they couldn't put the camper on there.
But
But they
709, the original 709 ordinance that the city has says that exactly. You know, I was the same way, I had pilings in the ground, and I couldn't even put a storage shed on because my house wasn't under construction.
Right.
But yet I had $30,000 of pilings pounded into the ground. So I mean, they're pretty strict, and that's how it should be. Back to 709 again, and go back to your original ordinance. Enough is enough.
And it's still for only 6 months to get tried.
Yeah, it's 6 months. Well, and then you have to have your house physically there. Slabs poured, they're building your house, then you can come in for 6 months and 6 months over.
Well, I think that there was some leeway if you
That
had
was
bad,
after the hurricane.
well, if you had bad weather, well, even before, I think that if it ran to 7 months, as long as there was work being done, I don't think we were mean about it, saying.
No, you just had to
you
have
your
something
6
going.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
now people
right.
get a permit, it's 2 years later,
Right.
they haven't even broke ground to shovel yet.
But so it's, like I told this fellow, I said, whether or not you think it's too stringent or not, I'm sorry, this was not an easy problem for us to work out. We did the best we could working it out with all the things considered. And so if you wanna come down here and bring a camper, you need to get a building permit and get started on your house. And he was not happy with that, but anyhow, so I guess he called Kathy back.
Gina, how long does the building permit last?
6 months.
6 months.
And
Okay.
they can get it extended if, you know,
And to go in line with what we're talking about, there's a trailer over on, I believe it's 4th Street or somewhere in that area, that's got all this stuff piled up there around it. And it's got a sign, Chris,
Yep.
that sign's been there for years. You know, these are the people we need to really attack on that.
Yeah.
Just because they put a sign up or they got a permit that didn't go through, you know, that's the one who really need to be attacked.
You know which one he's talking about too, right? Has,
That's a homestead lot.
Well,
But
I
still,
talked to him and I said, you know, we've got RV parks down, he goes, well, I can't afford it, this is my lot, I'm gonna build.
well, but he's not building, he doesn't have a building permit. So that's, have you found him? So you find him, so what do we do next if when does that get turned over to the special master? If he requests a hearing?
If he wants one, sure, yeah.
Okay,
You can go
so,
up and say, you're up to $400, I'm gonna send you over to the special master, whatever.
okay, so once he gets to $400, then he goes to the special master.
If that's the way you wanna do it, we can.
The special master process is designed so it's only by request. The city can initiate it ourselves on situations where we wanna have a more detailed order, but the way it works is we still, as a city, would send the file to the special master, have them look through it, make sure the notices are proper, make sure that it looks like there's some evidence in the file, and he would do the order. But as far as having a hearing, that generally is just when they're requested.
Okay, so back to the initial, he's at $400 now, right?
No, he's not.
No, okay, so you're saying when we get to $400, then you think as a city, we need to send it to the special master, let him start? Because I thought that was part of his duties, is that not part of his duties, is collecting money, giving fines?
No.
No?
So
You can't
the
collect.
primary
Good.
role of the special master is to hear appeals when somebody disagrees that there's a violation. But the special master does sign the orders, which are then what's recorded to either be a lien on the property or to start the assessment process. But the collection effort's not by the
Okay, so we still have some stuff that none of us are clear on, I'm not clear on it, so I don't know how Kathy could be clear on it. Can we not have like a workshop or something where we get this thing figured out, and so we know that she knows that when she gets to 2 fines and they haven't paid, we can do something else, so we're all on the same page, so everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing? Cause I don't know that, I don't know how Kathy knows what to do, cause I don't know, and we're sitting here talking about it, we don't know. Do you know? I mean, we don't know, can we not have a meeting or sit down for a couple hours and figure this out?
We could. I didn't hear Kathy say that she didn't know what to do though. She just is accruing fines and we.
But nothing's getting done, and all she's doing is giving fines, and then so if we're just giving fines, and they're just saying, I'm not paying the fine, it's like the check guy over there on whatever road, he's playing lawyer stuff, and he's acting like he's not getting it, and nothing's happening, so we need to have some sort of way to enforce it, so.
The city's.
Yeah, we need to have something that says, okay, you can go this far with this, and once you go this far right here, we're gonna go to another level of
we've
enforcement.
had it.
So
We have it?
Sure, we've had it.
The city's option,
We've had it.
they're the fines.
Okay.
Those don't necessarily lead to something being cleaned up. But if, the other option is for the city to use its own finances and resources to fix it itself. And then assess the property. That's the other option, and all along, that's been a difficult business decision for the city because of limited resources and funding.
Can we get a GoFundMe page to tear down these places? Well, no, and I'm just, you know, I just think that I would like to know a little bit more.
Get the ordinance out that's in, that Rock's referencing several times, I don't, to me, it's been clear.
But what
This is more about-
I'm saying is, it's not working, evidently it's not working, because,
No, it's, well, I don't know that it's not working, just, let me ask you
Well-
something for clarification. The homesteaded lot you just mentioned,
Yes, sir.
that ordinance clearly says, I mean, that, the fact that it's homesteaded has no bearing whatsoever that he put a camper there. What is the justification based on the rules that he puts, that we're allowing him to have that camper?
Well, have you said we're going back to the 709 ordinance? Because I haven't been told that. I'm still going by what happened after the hurricane. I mean, if we want to go back to the original ordinance, I'd be more than happy to start that
But
one.
I'm asking, since the hurricane, what is the justification for that homesteaded lot to have a camper on?
I was told because it was homesteaded, that was his only place of residence and that he could keep his camper there.
but that has nothing to do with it. Okay, so then, now you know that you can go find him.
What?
Who told you that?
Let me ask you this, around Bobby Street, I forget the name, only I use it referencing that neighborhood, there's a camper on the left by the lot that we sold. That camper's still there.
Her house was just put in.
That one's there under a permit, and the house is just about complete, so.
Okay.
That was
Okay,
there.
that's.
Oh, I know one, yeah, they're working on the house now, it's
Okay,
big,
all right,
and it would definitely have to be moved, of course, once, or shut up,
gotcha. Somebody asked me about that the other day, I meant to write around it.
yeah.
I
It
didn't
took a
realize-
while for them to do it.
Okay, it took a while, they sat there a long time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm sort of agreeing with Darrell. If there is, he said, we said, she said, if there is not a plan, like, for me, I'm willing to, I'm ready to, like, not give them a water meter. Hell,
Agreed.
let's do something.
Yeah, so can we not have,
I mean-
let's have a little meeting about it, don't you think we need to have a little
I
meeting
mean,
about it?
I'm okay with having a workshop to just look at, give some clarification.
Yes.
So that the code person knows. I mean,
Exactly.
If we can't
Exactly.
expect her to do
What she don't know, what she's
based on
supposed
what
to.
you think, or me think, or
Right.
somebody, you can't.
There you go. I agree, there you go. That's good, so when can we do that?
I'm ready.
I'm ready today.
So,
I will pull all the cats and
y'all just set a date, and we'll meet then.
When y'all go, man.
Well, we need to get, first thing we need, it would help to at least look what's on the books. I know we have varied from that, but I think we should all get a copy of what's on the books.
As far as the
So that we can
ordinances,
come to the meeting and say, at least that would be a basis to start.
and then the ordinances.
I'll fill the ordinances and give everybody a call.
Just send, and then, today's Tuesday, I'm good with,
Tuesday.
whatever, I mean.
Do we have to give notice on this, being a workshop?
We just put it on the
So
website.
you got-
Just put it on the webpage, yeah. Y'all pick a morning, day, night, whatever.
ASAP for the meetings and whatever we do.
What else would we need? I mean, there's multiple written ordinances, well, exceptions that we made after the storm. I don't know if do you have those, Dick?
You know, the very general structure, prior to hurricane, you would look to the land development code for the regular code enforcement processes. It's the special master section of the code. That doesn't change. And you would have looked to the city code, different document, for RV rules. Those are still in the books too. In fact, one of them said actually allows a year and a half for construction. But since the hurricane, yes, we adopted a handful of ordinances, the ones that Rock was referring
Well, could you get us
Yep.
a little folder that, so we can sort of see what we said, and then we can, maybe it's time we just condense it or put something.
We'll get information out to the council by Friday, and we have a planning board meeting on Monday, the 1st of March. So if y'all wanted to meet, that planning board meeting's at 6, if y'all wanted to meet at sometime Monday, that would be about the soonest we could put something together. Or we could do it Tuesday
9
or
o'clock
Wednesday.
good for me.
Yeah, Monday's fine, Monday afternoon?
Yeah, Monday afternoon, say
Afternoon.
4 o'clock.
I won't be able to be here.
Okay.
Four.
You gonna be running?
Tuesday morning, again, just keeping it at the same time that we normally have our meetings, Tuesday the 2nd at 9 a.m.
Yes.
That's good with me.
Next Tuesday is,
I go you Tuesday morning.
next Tuesday's not good.
Okay.
How about Monday morning then for you?
Monday
Monday
morning
morning
at
be
9 a.m.
all right.
Monday morning, good, I know what you do, Monday afternoon. You go Monday morning, how about Monday morning?
Yeah, Monday morning, I can make I can't make Tuesday, but I can Monday.
Let's go Monday morning.
Monday morning, 9 o'clock.
Monday
Okay.
morning, 9 o'clock.
Post that as a workshop and.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't forget that, Rob.
Well, the workshop's open.
Okay,
That's right, Kathy will be out there.
Yes.
Oh, Kathy's gonna be
Yeah,
gone?
and she definitely needs to be.
Well,
Monday and
wait a
Thursday, I
minute.
won't be back until Monday night.
How about Wednesday? Got anything Wednesday?
I can make Wednesday.
I can make Wednesday.
Sheriff?
Yep.
You can't do
Tuesday
it?
and Wednesday. I could do 4 o'clock. Tuesday I can't do. I mean, Monday I can do 4. Oh, she won't be here at all.
She'll be here
Monday.
Monday, she'll be here Monday night.
Okay.
Sheriff can't be here Monday night. And Tuesday, you can't be here.
I can be here Tuesday, like 4 o'clock.
How about
Okay,
you?
you be here by then, right?
Tuesday, you be back, that's fine. Tuesday 4. Tuesday by 5, then make sure you give plenty of time.
Tuesday at 4. So,
4. And about, what you said,
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm looking at her, if you can't.
4?
4 o'clock's fine.
Okay, Tuesday, 4 o'clock, we'll have a workshop.
Yay.
What day? Maybe
March 2nd, Tuesday, 4 o'clock.
Next Tuesday,
next week. Good.
week from today. Okay. All right,
Yeah.
Hey,
Public Works,
should have been there. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
go ahead, Mr. Bond.
Good morning, council. A few things I'll go over with y'all in the last couple of weeks. I noticed, y'all noticed, because people are calling about the amount of stumps that we are grinding. We have ground over 100 more stumps, some down 15th Street, in the last 2 weeks. So we are getting the stumps ground up, and they're starting to look good. You can actually see it when you're going down the road now.
Stump grinds playing for itself, later.
Yeah, they're doing an excellent job, and, right now, I think we're up to about 400 since we started, so, they're doing an excellent job. And like I mentioned at the last meeting I was here, if anybody listening in has stumps that's on the city right away or right there, property line right away, we will get those. If they'll give me a call, 527-3087, we'll get a crew around there and get those, get them cleaned up. The more we get them cleaned up, the better the town's looking. So, also, give you an update on the dredging. We are dredging today. We could not dredge yesterday, it was just entirely too rough. The mouth of the canal is closed, headed back over just a small spot, just like it's doing after we have one of these little fronts come through. I had a couple of the boat captains call me this morning and talk to me, and, I told them that there would like a way to find out whether the canal's open or closed. I told them we had installed a sign down at the boat ramp, but some of them said, well, I've got a charter tomorrow morning, I don't know where it's open or closed. I said, well, I'll be more than happy to sit down and we can have a workshop with the captains and see if we can come up with an idea of letting them know each day. I mean, if they call me, I can let them know at the end of the afternoon, but y'all guys have been here a lot longer than I have, and it doesn't take one night to send that thing over. So, a lot of times, the first thing we do when we come in the morning is check that canal. If it is sanded over or it needs cleaning up, the guys go down and dredge. They have dredged for about 2 months now, they're about solid. we finished the beach nourishment project with the sand that they have dredged just out of the canal, the end of the canal. We hadn't even made it to the west side yet. So that will tell you how much sand that they have dredged out of that canal in the last 2 or 3 months, just, with enough to do the beach nourishment project. So, but we are dredging today. Troy said we should have the canal open by this afternoon, where a boat can get in and out. So, that's just kind of an update there on the canal.
And Mayor, in council, once we dredge the west sand trap, it shouldn't happen like it happens right now. What's happening is it's migrating from that west side over.
That's
way
exactly
off.
right.
And once we get that dredged, it's just.
I don't know how we're ever gonna get there.
We're working now, Mayor, we just need some good weather. Basically, the guys are dredging 3 days a week, 2 days bad weather, they're not being able to dredge. If we can get it where we got pretty weather, just like Troy said, and we can make that turn to the west side. Exactly what Mario said, if we just start punching
Well, no,
holes on
we-
that
we
west
proved-
side,
we
we're gonna be
proved that.
fine.
We
We're gonna be
proved
fine.
that for years.
Yeah,
After we got
Troy,
that permit, but it's just, it seems that we're incapable of getting with what we have and maintaining the mouth to where we can do that.
Well, Mayor Troy told me and Mario both, less than a month ago that him and Nick could punch that west side out in less than a month. He said probably less than 30 days. We can get the weather and they can get out of the mouth of the canal and make that turn. They can do it probably less than a month. So, Troy feels certainly they will have no problem doing that once the weather permits. We have had several problems with the dredge. Y'all know it's old, it's wore out. We had to replace one spud, repair the other spud, and build a brand new snout the other day. They dredged so much that the snout had wore completely out and it just broke off. So, all that's been done. So right now, the dredge, as far as the mechanical part of it, it's in as good a shape as
Well, let me
we
ask
can.
y'all something.
Yeah.
Council, or anybody listening, if spring coming, what happens if the dredge goes down?
We
just
if
don't-
the dredge goes down, we're gonna sand over and absolutely.
I
The
know,
only
but
thing we can do is
do we have a, I mean,
back up, Mayor, would be to rent another long reach, just like we did a couple years ago, and sit down there and somebody dig that sand out of there with a long reach until we could get the dredge repaired. If you remember, I sat down there for about a month with a long reach, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, continuously digging to keep the canal open until the dredge was fixed. So that would be our only option.
and I know we're looking at some money
Yes, sir.
for that. I know we are, I'm just,
What I've asked, Tommy and Troy to do is give me some level of specifications for what we need for a dredge, so that we can put that out to bid. And I'm currently working with FEMA, because we had monies that the city was, provided for the sand bypass. I'd like to invest that money from the sand bypass into this piece of equipment. It's a gray line whether we can do that, because one is permanent work versus a piece of equipment, but it's still maintaining the canal, it's functioning the same purpose. The pipe didn't have anything in it unless the dredge was there, so we should be able to get it to that, but again, getting an answer from FEMA is sometimes
okay.
a challenge.
Yeah, and Troy got a hold of the guy that built this dredge, and he's supposed to be working up something now. Specifications of what Troy told him what we wanted, and he's supposed to be gonna give us a price.
Jesse Newell,
Yeah, something.
Again, we need the specifications.
That's who built it.
A price has to be
Southport.
Yeah.
advertised.
Moving along on here, had several calls, even the mayor asked me several months ago, we got a utility pole on Ole end of this, continuously leaning over, it's at about a 45 right now. Just to let everyone know, the engineer Duke sent me an email about a week ago, they have issued a work order to come out, and they're gonna straighten that pole back up. Right now, Mark Garrison told me he can't even get the debris truck down on the end because of it, but, it will be straight back up. They're working on that. Update on the street signs, I spoke with Dina on Friday. She said she would have the bid probably ready to go out either yesterday or today, to get our street signs, redoing all that. We did make a couple of changes on there. This time, we put in there a time limit, getting those signs, so that whoever makes a bid on it, it's just not sitting out there and we wait 3 months and then don't hear anything from them. So, the sidewalks, I think everybody noticed, first stage of that with the FEMA money is done. Sidewalks, have been done and actually look really good. So we're gonna get into the second part, which is with FDOT, with Martin. He's gonna meet me down here. We're gonna walk the rest of the sidewalks that we need repaired, get those marked, and, we should be able to get all that done. And the crosswalks put back where they were supposed to go. So they're gonna help us on that. Also, I'd like to, thank Kimberly Show. She come up with the idea, she wanted to do something for the employees, so, she, done a, certificate of appreciation and gave all the city employees a little, voucher card to eat at one of the restaurants here in Mexico Beach or Shell Shack, and, they greatly appreciated that, so I just wanna say thank you, Kimberly, for doing that for the employees. That's about all I have, other than the normal stuff that we do, day to day, keep the city looking good.
Tommy, what's the last we've heard, and I guess Gina, on the walkover guy that did the shoddy work, and he was gonna have to go back and get permits, and we got an update on that?
He's got his permits, we've inspected all of them, and he failed his inspections, and that's where it sits.
Can you tell me, how did he fail them? What about the shims? Is that part of the failure?
The shims, no, that wasn't fair. It was, there's a lot of it that isn't built per the plans.
Yeah, well, it should, the shims were not part of the plan.
Right, but it's bad workmanship, but it's not really a code violation.
So so he's just gotta remedy his code violations,
Correct.
and then we're gonna assume a job that we're gonna have to start fixing immediately.
That's up to you guys.
Well, I'm not mad at you, and I'm not, don't take this the wrong way. Is that something that we can say? I mean, that we're not gonna accept that? I mean, listen, that literally, there are shims that are this tall, plastic shims, where the 4x4 did not go all the way to the handrail. And there's not just some of them. I bet you there's 100 or better on one crossover.
So we can't fail him for workmanship. We can fail him for code violations.
Who can fail him for workmanship? Can we, Tommy?
I don't know the question of that, Mr. Darrell. I mean, we went down and looked at it, and I told the guy that they were unacceptable. Y'all guys come down and looked at it, we told them that it was unacceptable, that, just the quality of the work. So that may be something Nick could answer.
There's two different ways to approach this. What we've been talking about are permit and code issues, but you just have your regular contract to stand on too. And I don't believe final payments have been made. You could withhold payment, you could file a suit to recover damages if the work is so bad that it needs to be redone. There are options, that's just not the direction the city's going in.
Well, if we allow him to walk away with the workmanship that he's got there now, then we're gonna have to start fixing it. Do you disagree with me, Tommy?
Not at all. I mean, we talked about that. We brought these issues up while he was building the walkover, that we didn't want the shims in there and all, and his remarks were, they did that all over the place. I've heard that since we've had these issues, that they're actually banned over towards Pensacola. They won't even let them build boardwalks. They won't even give them a permit to do work over there. I mean, I would think there's some kind of percussion that we could use. I mean, it's not like we haven't said anything about it till the last day. We complained about them as they were building them. I went in and looked at them.
Right.
Jeff Hino complained about them with Dewberry, and the guy just absolutely ignored us. Y'all met with him down there, and the guy that owned the company, and, you knew what he said. He thought they all looked fine, so.
Yeah, he didn't have a problem with it at all.
Don't bail.
Which is my point. And what I've said, I don't carry that clout of being able to back up what I said, but I said if there's any way that I have anything to do with it, you will not get another nickel until those 4x4 posts reach the handrails, because that's the only thing that holds them up. And then shims, plastic shims, Look, it's on the plan, it's black, it's as black and white as that letter is written right there, that there is no place on that plan. Every one of those rails is straight on the plan, every one of those 4x4, posts that are on the deck holding up the handrail, touch the handrail, and they're cut at the proper angle. There are 2x2s that don't reach it, I mean, if we don't make them fix it, or we don't take their money and get someone to fix it, then then they're already overloaded, and we're gonna put a job on them that's gonna take them months, and it's gonna cost us a lot of money.
Mr. Darrell, I can say this, the guys that are doing the work now on our marina,
Yeah.
they're repairing those walk downs and all.
Yeah.
There's no plastic shims on them, all the boards fit, they look great, I've been down, going through with it, no issues at all. I mean, as you just said, basically, it's just shoddy workmanship, and, you know, they were, as those things were being built, we addressed those issues, several times, and they made no attempts to correct it. Their thing was, well, we do this all the time, the shims are acceptable.
Okay.
Well, they reached out to our office recently, wanting to know where their pay app is, I think we're on 2 of them. And his argument is basically, he's gotten 3 or 4 punch lists off this project, and years ago, or whenever he was finishing it up. So he's considered himself to be done, so he wants to get paid. So, I don't know what we need to do to.
Well, evidently, he didn't do what was on the list,
Right.
because they told him that that was not gonna be allowed since the very beginning, and he kept doing it. So, I mean, can't we push this issue to some sort of legal
I'm sure you have
remedy?
some contract rights. I don't think I've ever been provided a copy of the contract. We need to look at it, but yes, that's not.
All right, well then, I think, Mario, can we get him a copy of that so he can look at it?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm telling you, it doesn't make sense for us to spend money and let them go on this thing when we're gonna have to come in and fix it immediately.
Gina, is the code violations, has he addressed those?
No.
Okay. So why is he coming to get his money?
Well, he's just asking us, when, have we set the final pay apps, which we haven't.
How much do we owe?
Well, I mean,
Over 50,000.
if he's got code violations, he obviously isn't through.
Well, he's absolutely not gonna fix these things, so.
Okay, well then, if we know that already, then we don't, just get next to the contract, just don't pay him. It's just, I mean, whatever, I think it's, 40, is it 48,000? I don't know what it is. How much money is Will?
It's over $50,000.
It's over 50? Okay. All right, well then, if he comes again, just tell him, hey, you're not paying.
And I think we ought to go ahead and get the process started with getting someone else to come in and look at it and say, how much would it take to fix it? We got North Florida down there working on stuff, and we got a good report that they're doing it correctly. Can we not get them to come and give us an
When you
estimate?
say correctly, then somebody gotta define that. You just
Well, I mean,
can't
it's,
say correctly.
well, I mean, it's, the boards are cut to fit the handrails, all that, they're cut correctly.
Don't we have a punch list of
It's not.
that we gave? All right, well then that's what we should go by.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Let me get the contract to Nick so we can go
okay,
to the legal.
But the good news is you're still holding a substantial amount of money.
Right.
That's very helpful.
Did he fix anything on the punch list? Anything?
No.
The handrails included the handrails?
He said he would come and fix some of the minor stuff, but he absolutely wasn't gonna go replace the 4x4s and.
Tell them goodbye.
yeah, I read that. He said, I am absolutely not gonna do this.
Okay, well then, we're absolutely not gonna pay. That's all we know.
There we go. Thank you.
All right. Where's Kevin behind? Kevin, what you got?
Everybody hanging out. Usual things to go through. We added 4 new services, 129 locates, 11 read-in, read-outs, 10 turn-ons, 10 reconnect, 45 services for water, 5 for sewer, 4 door hangers. We do data log reports if somebody has a problem with their meter. To get them a report for that, 3 of those, 120 rereads last month.
What's that about?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Which one?
120, reread.
We have to go back and reread the meter because it won't pick up with the laptop. We have to go out and manually read.
Is that an unusual amount?
Oh, they were higher than that. We've been working on getting them down. That battery gets weak or something goes wrong inside the register and it won't pick up with the laptop. But you can read them manually. They still pick up that way, so we go read them manually until we get them replaced. And we had 5,104,000 gallons of water, and we had a Hawk SCADA system put in at the water plant, an MX1, so I can monitor it on my phone. If something's going on, I can sit there at night, just go in there and look at things. And they'll send me an alarm for certain things. And we had some manhole repairs and a couple lift station problems we worked on, some fuses and plugs and different things going on. We did have a hole up here in a force main pipe on 14th Street. Got a bypass pump down there, so we have 2 pumps at this point. The age of them are 21 years old. Then you had the storm come in, got a lot of salt water get in those stations. It's kind of expedited the rust factor on those ductile iron pipes. And they're getting thin, so we're gonna start seeing some issues with that along.
I circulated that photograph earlier this week that, and looking at, and that was actually a photograph on 7th Street lift station. I've shared that with, Dina, and she's gonna look and see if there's some opportunities for a grant, to come in and basically start replacing that pipe that goes from the pump, and turns into the, sewer system.
Is that something that we do or hire out?
We would hire out, I mean, it's a 14-foot long pipe, you have to pump things out while you're doing it, it's work in a confined space, it's specialized.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken. Question?
Kevin, this, total service connection, 2,329. Is that, each condo unit? or
That's
is-
everything that's active at the moment. They shut them all off. I got a feeling you're gonna see more as spring break comes on, the summer, people will be turning their meter back on.
Okay, so
Fluctuates.
there's no way you can be able to tell how many people that actually
I'd have to get
is
Sherry
involved
to
in
see
on
what
it. Okay.
that total change.
Well, you know, people keep asking, how many people you think in Mexico Beach are living in it? And, there's no way you can tell by something like that.
That includes irrigation meters
Yeah,
too.
because those irrigation meters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, that could be a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
David, what you got?
Yes, sir. So, Sunset Park is back on the list. We had got the, geotech work done and the architect sent over for the structural design, so we have gotten that pavilion back so we can finalize the site plan. We will need to send this to DEP for a CCL permit, as well as, this is a $50,000, joint participation agreement with the DOT for landscaping, much like the landscaping we've got down there. So we'll have to go through them, the same process for approval of permits as well.
That's the Sunset Park.
Sunset Park, yeah,
That's the,
right next to Elgin.
yeah.
And then the 15th Street box culvert, we're resuming the design. We put this on hold, waiting to hear back from FEMA because we had some micro damage and some Sally damage. We were trying to figure out if FEMA was gonna allow any mitigation, for the box culvert. And I think we're gonna go back with the design of the repair of the damage. And that too will require a DOT permit as well as Corps of Engineer and FDP determination. We're hoping, with the, emergency orders, that we can get a variance on the, permits needed from the Corps and DEP.
Okay. What did we find out from our low bidder on the,
Streets,
no, on the landscaping along did they, DOT, everything checked out, they're good?
Yes, sir, we got the DOT permit, everything's good, they wanna start April first, I had a communication with them yesterday, they're working with their supplier to get, some seagrass or something in, so April first, we're looking at the start date.
How long did they project that project to take?
I believe Patrick got his desire, said 2, 3, 4 months.
Right through tourist season.
One of the things that was slowing them down was he had specified, I think it was 2-gallon, COs, and we talked this morning about changing that 2-gallon COs to 3 plug COs or whatever the equal trade out is to help expedite the start date. So we are talking about, doing some things. The other thing that's come up is, DEP got involved and we have to monitor for shorebirds while we're doing the install because it's Pleasant Beach.
Well, I guess with tourist season, this really isn't going down on the beach past the dune, it's from the dune up, as long as they, I would hate to be doing that work trying to find a parking place.
They'll be there before the tourists get here, so their equipment will be there, they should be able to deliver, and we'll coordinate with them to try to get them off of the area so that the maximum number of tourists can utilize the space, but they should be able to get their product down there without interrupting anything. There's never an easy time, just like the marina and the pier and everything else, it'll all be complicated.
Questions for Dewberry? Okay, thank you, Dave. All right, next is the minutes from our December 8th and 18th meeting. I'll chair will entertain a motion to approve by consent unless there's additions or corrections.
Make a motion to approve consent the minutes. 12/8 through 12/18.
Second.
Have a motion second. Is there any opposition? Let the record reflect, vote carried 5-0. Okay, number 2 is the settlement with Adams. Is that Nick or what are we doing there?
It's on consent, so we.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
We
wasn't
left
paying
we left a copy of that in everybody's
Yes.
mailbox.
Would you like me to just give a brief?
Just, even though it's under the consent, I missed that, I
Oh,
apologize.
that's fine, I mean, that prior motion's out there, just for the minutes anyway. So this is based on a 2017 incident, back when the city had its own police force. There was an investigation going on a dock, and, Mr. Adams approached the police, and they had a tense conversation, and it escalated, and resulted in Mr. Adams getting arrested. He later sued for false imprisonment and battery and other charges. And it got referred to our insurance company, insurance providing counsel's been working on it, and they are recommending a settlement at no cost to the city, but it would be $27,500 in insurance.
How many times has this guy sued us? Is this the first time or the second time?
Well, this particular incident, I think, might have had multiple actions involved with it, but I don't know of anything besides this. It's possible there's something else.
So, do we know if he's still renting a space? Okay.
He's not renting the space, right?
His boat's not there.
This is a case that I have not been working on, so what I would recommend is if you have a lot of heartburn about approving the settlement, we could probably have your litigation attorney attend a different meeting to answer more questions for you and
Well, he's had issues at other places. I do know that. So I just, you know, pay the guy for the insurance, that's what they say, in my opinion, and, we just make sure that he doesn't get to come here anymore. What I would like to do. I don't know if we can do that.
Who's making the recommendation?
The insurance.
It's our counsel provided by insurance and the insurance companies themselves, they're prepared to make this payment.
They think that is what should be done, that's what they recommend.
It's a financial choice for them at times, but yes, they're recommending that, they think it should be done.
Okay?
And the settlement doesn't admit any liability on behalf of the city, it's purely to resolve the litigation.
All right, is there a motion to approve by consent?
Make a motion to approve by consent the, settlement with Thomas A. Adams.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Call the roll in this case.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Thank you. It's not exactly like consent, but in that case, it works better.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to our regular, item, we have the first, is order 759, which is a rezoning request. We have a first reading. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
Make a motion to read ordinance 759 by title only.
Second.
Second, all right, any opposition to reading? Ms. Lindsay, please.
An ordinance rezoning from high-density residential to townhome district that certain parcel of land lying within the city of Mexico Beach, Florida, containing approximately 0.061 acres, located at 107 South 35th Street, with parcel ID number 04618-010-000, all as more particularly described in the body of the ordinance, repealing all ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Thank you. All right, that'll just simply move to our next meeting.
My office will handle the notice, and hopefully it'll be next week.
Okay. All right, number two is, Mario, you got a
Yes, sir.
land purchase discussion?
On the last page of your agenda, I gave you a little diagram that shows where the, 4 parcels are and, its proximity to the city pier. I have submitted to the state that the owner is requesting $465,000 to purchase the land. The appraisal came in at $422,000. So there's a delta of $43,000. Basically asked the state if they could meet that delta. I've not gotten an answer to date. I called them as early as this morning. They require, and again, I'm asking them to change the House Legislative Bill 124, because it says that they cannot go over the appraised value. So if they can't go over the appraised value, then the city would have to provide that match of the $43,000. So, you know, I'm working this angle, but if not, is the city willing to spend the $42,000 to purchase the $465,000 lot? It's approximately 102 feet of frontage, and the depth of these lots is 100 feet.
Okay, are you asking us for any, is that an informational, or are you asking for?
Are you willing to match that $43,000?
At some point, there would be a contract for purchase, written up and signed, but I think Mario's looking for initial direction.
Okay, and have we made any kind of counter offer?
Well, his original offer was $48,000. I went to him telling him that, I'm sorry, 48 $48,500.
$485,000.
$485,000. His original request was $485,000. I went back to him with $422,000 based on the appraisal, and he said his rock bottom price is $465,000.
Just for background, if you're wondering about making a purchase that's over appraised value, there is a Florida statute that the Attorney General has said applies in this situation. It's questionable, but the conservative reading of that statute would say, yes, you can pay more than appraised value, but it would take a vote of 4 of the 5 of you to approve it.
Okay,
Can I ask something?
no, yeah, it's open, yeah, whatever, we're trying to decide what to tell him to do.
Now, we're required to spend some money in there, correct, for the pier? What is the deal on that? I mean, we gotta match,
Yeah, this has, the legislature last year approved a $500,000 grant for the city of Mexico Beach to purchase land that supplements the city pier.
okay,
So originally, I went out and talked to, if you look at the parcel directly to the east, that larger parcel, I asked that owner if they were willing to sell, and I got no response from the original ask. I called back until I actually reached a human being, and I spoke to them, and they said that they were not interested in selling. So that was the original parcel that I tried to go after. The parcels to the west are under construction. I really didn't think that we want to purchase a building to demo, so I steered away from those. Found out that there was one owner that owned 2 lots, and another person in the family owned the other 2 lots. So that's why I reached out to the parcel that is shown in this map,
the red parcel.
the red parcel.
Yeah, other background, the grant expires June 30th of this year. Sometimes we'll extend those, but we'd have to work through that because time's running short on actually finding appropriate property and getting purchased.
And it has to be on that road.
Well, it's got to augment the pier in some way, shape, fashion, or form. So again, it's kind of hard to augment the pier if it's not in proximity to the pier.
You reckon, man, we wait till we got our money before we pay them, or reckon we have to pay them up front, so you know?
Oh, the way that the grant is written, the city pays and then the state reimburses.
Well, it's a nice little area, it'd be hard to get anything any closer.
You know, I say we do it, I'm close to look, 48,000. I
Oh,
see that's a
so
pretty
La
good
La
deal.
Lane,
So it's
But-
but so
basically
La La
another
Lane,
500.
if you use that.
It's a pretty good piece of property, I mean, it is connected close to the pier. I don't think we're gonna get anything any closer.
46
Not for that price.
I'm for sale.
Would be
Right.
$43,000. The cost for the total property is $465,000. So approximately $70,000 per the small lots and 200 and something thousand for the larger lot.
Yeah, it's worth it.
And we have a full appraisal for it that says that the value,
Right.
according to them, is 422.
What's our, I always call them hidden costs, they're not hidden, but we got closing fees, we got stamps and.
The closing fees, those costs are covered by the grant. So the fact that we're not at $500,000.
Oh, okay.
Gives us the
Okay.
room to cover those costs.
That's a good bit.
Yeah,
Oh,
that would be probably pushing $15,000, $20,000 by itself.
If it's a typical allocation, the closing costs on this would be especially high, but we haven't actually signed a contract that would allocate those closing costs.
So we would have to submit we would pay for the property, we would then submit for the grant.
We get all but 43,000.
Correct.
And I'm for doing it, that's it.
I don't think we'll get.
We're never gonna get any,
Me too.
never gonna get anything closer, and we're not, and even if it's just for parking, and it takes some of the density off of that street.
Well, do we need a motion, we just say okay?
Well, If you want Mario to have authority to go ahead and get under contract, I'd say have a motion. If you want the contract brought back to you to look at, I think he's got enough direction to do that.
Okay. So really what we need is a motion to pay the asking price.
To get it under contract.
Yeah, to get on contract. Get on contract at the asking price. Okay.
I make a motion that we, give the asking price for 37th Street property for 4 lots.
Okay. Have a motion second. Other questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollard?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Keith?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, number 3, special master discussion.
That's me.
Okay?
I got an email from Kathy last week or the week after, Mr. Bush had sent to the mayor, Mario, and she forwarded it to me. And I was very displeased in it. So to, really showing what I really felt, I've asked some help to write this little letter for you, please. Regarding the conflict between the special master and the code enforcement. Mr. Bush has criticized Kathy's work by accusing her of underperforming and questioning her standard operating procedures. I believe he is overlooking the amount of time and effort it takes to build relationships with residents. From a view of the spreadsheet progress that's being made, we've been through multiple code enforcements, finally have someone who cares about the position and the people she serves. It would be ineffective to replace her and undo the work she's already done. Let's continue to move forward. We're all managing unprecedented times as we recover from a catastrophic storm, global pandemic. To my knowledge, there's no handbook for such circumstances. The role of special master is to be more than official, not to undermine the enforcer's authority and interact himself as self-proclaimed mentor, offering unsolicited suggestions. Every one of us should be working to benefit the welfare of the city. In my opinion, focus should be on the demolition as an essential necessity for health, safety, and positive redevelopment. However, if the council determines to make RV violation the top priority, then let's ask Kathy what she needs to proceed. I think we work on that. Together we can construct a reasonable time plan. This is the second time Mr. Bush has got behind a computer. The first time he called me a incompetent city council, which I don't agree with him sometimes, but I think this is wrong. And I'm asking the city or the county, let's get rid of Mr. Bush. And I talked to Mario and Nick about replacing him. And I think we've come up with a sort of reasonable, but he's free, and I think we're getting what we pay for. So I think he's very overreacted. I don't really think he sees the essential, what we have to have in Kathy. I can't tell you what the job I think she's done. I can remember one time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there was over 100-something mobile homes or campers in this town. So we have done a lot of progress in keeping him as our special master. It's gonna make it stop or go downhill. So I'm, again, I want to take him off as a special master and get whoever Nick would like to be. It costs us a few dollars, I think, per case.
I can make a couple comments to add to that. So your land development code says the special master works at the will of the city council and may be suspended or removed from office by the city council. So it's just ultimately your choice. Who do you want to have as your special master? Takes a vote of 3 people to make a change. Your land development code also states that the special master serves without compensation, except has expenses covered. So your likely alternative to your current situation is to pay an attorney, not me, but an outside attorney, to handle those hearings. So we would need to change what the code says about compensation. That's not difficult, we can do that. So it really is just a matter of the council's preference about what you want to do. Turn it over to you.
Well, you know, I agree with Jerry based on the fact that, you know, not only did he call Jerry incompetent, he called us all incompetent. And I know that I had a conversation.
He must not want to talk to me.
He did what?
He didn't want to talk to me, I guess. So he didn't talk.
Oh, he sent it about us. He sent it about the council in general. It was back during the beach COVID thing, when he sent a letter to the governor's office saying that we were down here, were a bunch of incompetent people, not doing what we should do, rather than contacting us and saying, hey, guys, I think, you know, you might want to consider this. It was like the mayor and I discussed at the time, just to, you know, about the email, and said, well, you know, he's on our team. He's wearing the same jersey as us. Why is he sending an email? So it's just, my point is that rather than handling himself professionally, he just gets behind the computer and does his rant and sends it to whoever, and he doesn't consider. And I didn't appreciate it then. I don't appreciate what he's done since then. And I don't know that we need that kind of fella representing the city, you know, because if he's been mean to us, you know, he could be mean to them and get us in more trouble. So, and we could get a lawyer fairly reasonable, right?
I've looked into what some of the other cities and Bay County uses an attorney for this process. City of Callaway does, Panama City Beach does, Lynn Haven does. It's fairly common to do that. The cost varies, it's all negotiable. I've seen, I think, one or two instances where there's a fairly low set fee per hearing, and then other times just hourly rate, you know, what you'd expect an attorney to charge, and they keep track of the time.
So a fairly low rate at what? As low as what?
Didn't you mention that you believe Panama City Beach was?
$50 per case was one location, others are hourly rates, so.
And the folks I've talked to get a better idea, I wouldn't expect to get $50 a case.
That's not typical.
Probably either hourly or maybe a couple $100. I guess it would just be a matter of talking to more options.
And if we did that, is that a cost that we can then make the person, can we add that as part of the, of their fine?
Yeah, I believe so. And there may be some limits on how much is reasonable, but yes.
So, and would it not also carry a little bit more weight that an attorney at law is dealing with them rather than just a special master with no legal authority, essentially, other than what we give him? Would that, would
Well,
you
the only
think?
authority is coming from the city. That's where the basis of the authority is. In defense of Mr. Bush, he does have some legal background. He used to be an attorney. But, again, it's your prerogative, whoever you think would be most appropriate to handle the position.
Well, I don't like he did it twice. This is the second time he's done it. So. When's the next time?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems, you gotta work with people, and I don't think he can work with people. And again, he just jumps into something like this.
Right.
So, I'm in agreement.
We need to get the attorney, I agree.
And you could also look for additional volunteers to consider. I just don't know if that's.
No, I personally think that we can forward the cost. We're gonna be reasonable. We're not just saying, well, charge us whatever, cause he's gonna pay for it or she's gonna pay for it. We try to be reasonable, and like we have been with this whole situation to begin with, we have tried to understand from their perspective and gone and bent over backwards to allow them to do stuff. We've been taken advantage of a lot on account of doing that, but yet we can still be, concerned about what they're charging, and if we can get it done for $100 or something like that and charge, or if it's $200, if it keeps going, whatever it is, they're only making that bill bigger. If they would comply, we wouldn't even need a lawyer. If they would comply and do what they're supposed to do, they would be under that, so I don't have a problem with them having to pay for what it costs to make it go away, personally. So I'm in favor, so what do we need to do? We just need to, we need to discuss it more, or?
Make a vote to remove Mr. Bush, and then between now and next time, Mario and I will be looking at the available options.
I make a motion.
Well, just a minute, just a minute. We all wanna say, the only comment I have is, I would feel more comfortable about removing someone that has made an opinion about a city employee if the city administrator thought that such a letter, I mean, that either one, affected the effectiveness or affected the job performance, or did in some way the employees of this city work directly under the city administrator.
Correct.
And to my knowledge, the administrator hasn't commented about the letter, other than that he got it. And if you see this as a division within the ranks of our personnel, that weighs on my decision. The fact that someone writes a letter and gives an opinion of whether it be us or someone else within the city, I mean, that's just his opinion, whether we agree or don't agree. But I feel like that if not having heard from the administrator on this particular issue, or how he felt it might affect his personnel, quite frankly, what Jerry read is very true. But if there's no relationship, I mean, if that's just we don't work with the special master, he represents the city, our code person does, our attorney does, our administrator does. I'm more inclined to think that if we give some clear direction, sometimes you can get some good constructive criticism from those who, I mean, it's easy just to close the door. It's more, sometimes it's better to say, hey, did we learn anything from this? If we don't think we did, so be it, or if we don't think the administrator thinks that this is a good relationship to continue. But I hadn't heard that. I just heard that we don't like the letter. I don't disagree. I didn't like it either. Wish he maybe had chosen better words, but it's just his opinion. So, that's my take on it, for what it's worth.
So what do you think?
I can tell you that Kathy, to the best of my knowledge, would really rather not work with Mr. Bush. We've had, at this point in time, probably 4 or 5 meetings face-to-face with Mr. Bush, and that relationship is definitely an uncomfortable relationship, so.
What about your relationship with Mr. Bush?
I would say that I did ask him to consider rewriting the letter to make it a little bit more palatable in the direction, and his rewrite was pretty much the same thing, so it's an awkward relationship, and if the two of them have to work day in, day out, I don't see that being a reasonable relationship.
Because just like the mayor says, it really, ultimately, it comes down to you. It's a management issue.
I do not appoint him, so that is.
I understand, but you have to manage him after we appointed him, which we did. And so are you comfortable with giving him another shot, or would you think we're kicking a dead horse there?
I think you're kicking a dead horse.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion that we relieve Mr. Bush of his special master's duties and go with letting it get us. And I want to stop this progress as we go. I want to do this as expedite as we can. If we have to call it out for another special meeting or something to get this going, because I think we need to have a special master. And I really believe hiring an attorney like Darryl said. And I do agree with Al that sometimes, criticism is the best way to get something out in the open where we can understand what's going on, and I think we proved that today. But I would like to get this done I want to stop this process. This process, I want everything green on this piece of paper.
I'm not aware of any requirement you have to advertise for this and get proposals. Are you comfortable if we just explore options, find?
Sure.
Hopefully multiple alternatives, but I don't know the interest level.
For the record, Jerry, if you would narrow your motion, you sort of voted a motion and you kept going, just sort of simplify it and make it again, please.
Today, just to
Remove Mr. Bush's special.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Okay, and just quick clarification, y'all gonna sort of put your heads together, make some calls, and then give us some feedback where we.
Do you think we can get something for, special?
Yeah, I thought having a stricter property.
I don't know. We'll have some limitations because there's a state law that prevents people from doing this service for multiple cities, so some of the obvious options won't be able to do this work, but we'll have to reach out to some folks. We used to have an attorney that did this work. That's somebody we'd look to, some other people that work in these areas, so we'll.
Okay. All right. Okay, do you have a report for us?
I do not.
Any questions for the attorney? Okay, go ahead, Mario.
Mayor, we're still working with FEMA to figure out how we're gonna be resurfacing our roads. It's wait and see. Dina did write additional reports to them for them to fully understand what the original scope is versus the new scope, and we're waiting on both FEMA and the state. We have submitted a preliminary price for the jetty. That preliminary price is $2,463,000. We have submitted a preliminary price for the city pier at $8,746,000. We have a follow-up meeting on that later today.
Is that
To
1
see-
o'clock?
At 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
To refine those numbers, so it's not a firm number, that's just a preliminary number. We have submitted a firm number to FEMA for the police, fire, and civic center. That number is $12,822,000. That's for the site that is directly to the north of us, that would come in off of Joe Drive, and then come in off of 22nd Street. It's improving the whole site and doing that work. So those have been submitted. The 428 process has a deadline date for acceptance, or you go into a regular project of the end of April. So we're hopeful that that deadline, since we have submitted now, gives fire underneath FEMA to approve it or give us comments quickly so that we can make a response on that. So again, keep in mind, these prices are aggressive to see what we can get to maximize the building's recovery from this storm. I have a spreadsheet of the dollars that have been paid to the city to date through both FEMA and the state, and that total is $54 million in check. And there's still a lot of funds to come. Tomorrow, we have a meeting with KK Storm and Eisman Russo and Adkins and all those, just working out some of the intricacies of that project, where they picked up garbage and where they shouldn't have picked up garbage. So there's still lots of details that are still in the works, and it's a day in, day out process. I know that there is one other thing. Before y'all, set up a time for you all to have a one-on-one meeting. There is a mobile home lobby group that is looking to see what they can express to the council to see if they're willing to make some modifications to our current ordinances and codes for mobile homes. We have regulations. There are some openings for flexibility in that, and they would like a one-on-one meeting with each one of you. What we told them is it's typically easier for us to schedule those things right after a council meeting because we already know that y'all are in town. So, and Nick can add more to this. It's a request. You don't have to meet with them. It's just a courtesy type request that they're asking.
Is this mobile home or manufactured?
This is the full one mobile home.
Well, they call it manufactured, but it's probably what you're thinking of in terms of mobile home.
It has a decal like a vehicle does.
Their opinion is our rules are too strict, it's under Florida law, and they wanna talk to you about the kind of products and options, and they just wanna try to convince you that,
Well, why don't they wanna come here?
well, they may.
Okay. Lindsay, for me, I just tell you, I don't want it.
Okay, so March 9th is the date,
I don't
the
have
next
time.
meeting, so whoever would like to, set up a meeting.
Okay. What else, Maura?
That is it.
Council? Comments?
I
Round
got
one?
one.
Go ahead.
Did we heard anything from Rustic Sands? Since you got the new title now?
No, nothing else, since they met with Mario and I one day.
And then I thought we haven't heard anything yet, I've heard a lot of good things about coming down there, so
Cleaned
I
up
just.
a lot.
All right, I got one.
When he speaks.
It's not the way I'd like to end the meeting, but it's what we got to pass that down. Take a minute, we'll need to take some action on that. So, what we need to do, Lindsay works, the city clerk works directly for city council, has a contractual arrangement, we need to, first of all, need to say, hey, hear that. But we understand,
That was a hard decision.
I understand, we regrettably will accept, Chair need a motion to accept the resignation and then authorize advertising for city clerk position.
I make a motion to accept Lindsay's, resignation.
We have a
And
motion.
start advertisement, should I add that to it?
Do what?
And start advertisement.
Yeah, go ahead, do it all.
And start advertisement for the city clerk.
That was second.
The resignation, is it immediate or?
It's, well, the letter is March 8th. Yeah, March 8th. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any opposition to the motion?
Yes.
I understand. I'll fix and say that too.
Can we not do this?
Okay, if we don't accept it, we have to say.
We have to say,
Motion
No,
carries,
no.
and I understand. I was gonna say the exact same thing.
It's all understood.
But,
That's it.
we thank you for a job well done, and we will miss you.
Yes, we will.
Absolutely.
thank you for entrusting me.
So Mario, on that note, we have our outlets that we run that through.
We'll get it out through, the League of Cities,
Yeah,
state
that's right.
program, and we'll get it there, and then we'll get it, locally, and then we'll.
Okay, and
probably
we've
put it out
redefined
in
that
the-
job description, if I'm,
That is correct.
Okay.
The job description is now strictly city
City
clerk.
clerk,
It does
yeah.
not have the accounting side.
okay. what is the pay scale on that? Did we, see, we're gonna have to look at that.
It should have a pay scale within the job description.
Yeah,
It will take
It
you.
should, but
Yeah.
the way that transferred over, I wasn't sure how we handled that.
We still have it in that slot that, you know,
We
has the
kept it in
bottom
the
and the
slot?
top, yeah. So we
Okay.
still have that, it'll take you to actually set what that rate is in between that slot, but the slot is there.
Slide is there, okay, I just couldn't remember. All right, any other comments? Council comments? Motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Thank everyone for coming.
We don't have a lot of those in the road.
I got hit the button.